I think we're live, guys. I am so sorry that it took this long to get on. Something was going on with my Wirecast software, but super excited that you're all here. Thanks for being here on a Sunday. Today we're going to talk about some pitfalls that many people make when they first start intermittent fasting. So I have the whiteboard behind me. I'm going to get to some of your questions here. It's Mike Munsell here with highintensityhealth.com. Again, super excited that all of you are here. If at any point you enjoy this content, if you learn a nugget or two, or you can't hear me, please leave a comment below. But if you do enjoy this, please share this with someone that may benefit. So one of the common questions that I get associated with intermittent fasting when people are first getting into this is they'll say that their glucose is elevated. And I want to just share with you what the body sort of does. We have the whiteboard on. It looks like we're on here. Let me just check the comments just to make sure, because this is live. I'm not pre-recording this, and we're getting people on. Okay, no sound? Okay, no problem. Everything is good, starting good. Okay, so hopefully we're okay. I'll be following your comments here, but it's going to be hard with the whiteboard and so forth. So again, a big question that people have when they first start fasting is they realize in the post-fast window, maybe after 24 hours, 28 hours, 36 hours, their glucose is rising. And let me just tell you, this is an absolutely normal response for two different reasons. Number one, let's see, okay, I'm looking at the camera here. I can see that you all can see me. So let's just draw a graph here. And on this axis is gonna be glucose, okay? This is gonna be grams, let's just say grams per hour. Okay, so this is like glucose output, okay? And we'll just say maybe 10 grams here, 20 grams, 30 grams, right? And then so what we're going to see here is on this timeline right here, if we do like 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours, and this is fasting, right? So what we see, and this is work from George Cahill. Again, if you're a Patreon member, we share the show notes and the research articles that I talk about in here. But what we're going to see in the first roughly 24 to 30 hours, most of the glucose, and let me pause. When you intermittent fast, of course we know that ketogenesis, the synthesis of ketones, increases. This is a normal phenomenon, and part of that, friends, is to preserve lean muscle mass. Okay, so that's what's really exciting. The other part, of course, is to fuel the brain. So we know that the brain can't directly utilize free fatty acids for fuel. The brain does love fat, but it needs ketones, acetoacetate, and beta-hydroxybutyrate to cross the blood-brain barrier so that those ketones can be parsed out into acetyl-CoA to be utilized within the brain, right? So we know that other tissues within the body, red blood cells, the retina, various neurons, are obligate glucose utilizers, meaning that they need glucose, okay? It doesn't mean that they don't like fat necessarily, just their enzymatic machinery needs glucose. So this is what we're gonna just call right here, GNG, for gluconeogenesis, okay? So in the first 24 hours when you're fasting, most of the glucose is coming from either stored glycogen, muscle glycogen, and then a small amount of gluconeogenesis from various substrates. Some of that, by the way, here's what's super interesting. If you look at Cahill's research, some of the gluconeogenic substrates are actually ketones themselves, a very small amount. It's only about 10%. But around 36 hours, this is where things get kind of interesting. We see part of the glucose that we're getting in the blood is from glycerol, from fatty acids. So I think this is why it's important, guys. I like that a lot of you are doing the 1 meal a day, the OMAD approach, where you're fasting for roughly 22 to 26 hours a day, about. But I think it's good once a week to hit that 28, that 30-hour window, because that's when you really start. And so this is gluconeogenesis coming from glycogen and so forth. And then what we have here is from glycerol, okay? Glycerol. Very sloppy. So glycerol, of course, where does that come from? That comes from adipose, okay? So here's what's kind of cool over here. Can you see this? I should check the comments to see if you can see this. Let me see. Can I see this on my phone? I can see it. All right, that's good. Okay, so adipose tissue. So we get glycerol plus free fatty acids, okay? So here's what's cool, and this is what is so effective and why I get so excited, as you might be able to tell, about intermittent fasting versus just chronic energy restriction, okay? So in the context of low glucose, so when we're intermittent fasting, our glucose drops, our insulin drops, our glucagon rises. That creates this recipe, this hormonal milieu that creates a situation where we have your stored body fat is releasing both glycerol and free fatty acids. Now, what do the free fatty acids do? They go and make inside the liver, let me draw a liver here, and I suck at drawing, so it might not be The best liver. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. But this is your liver, guys. Okay, so here's what's really kind of cool here. And so I don't want you to be too scared, at least initially, if your glucose rises when you're fasting, because it's normal, right? Because your glucose is coming from glycerol and a little bit of gluconeogenesis from amino acids, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, so hold that thought, right? But this is a normal elevation in your glucose because, I'm going to get to that in a second, because we created the hormonal milieu so that your adipocytes are releasing free fatty acids to go and make, well, first of all, the free fatty acids can be utilized directly by the heart, by the muscle tissue. They can be utilized by the kidneys. They can be utilized by many other organs, just not so much directly the brain. So here's where the liver comes in. The liver says, okay, brain, I know you need fuel. I know you can't directly utilize these free fatty acids that are being released from the adipocytes because we're in a fasted state. So the liver starts to make beta hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate, right? So that's ketogenesis. Hold that thought, because we're going to talk about ketolysis, the lysis of ketones. Very, 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 very important, because we need MCTs for those, medium chain monocarboxylate transporters. I'm talking too fast. I should slow down here. And so this is the important part that a lot of you need to kind of consider. So it's the sweet spot, according to Cahill's research, according to other research studies, have shown that between 28 and 36 hours, that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot where our adipocytes are starting to release glycerol-free fatty acids. The glycerol, again, is being utilized to make glucose. Totally normal. It's gluconeogenesis happens. I remember sitting at ketogenic conferences when I first started going to them 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And people would talk about gluconeogenesis as though it was a bad thing. Guys, if you're in ketosis, gluconeogenesis is happening. You can't fight it. It's normal. You need it, okay, right? You couldn't see. Your red blood cells wouldn't be able to work. Various other tissues are obligate glucose utilizers. Don't be scared of gluconeogenesis, okay? But here's the thing that a lot of you need to understand in the post-fast window. You need to, we'll go back to this in a minute, but here's what you need to understand. In the post-fast window, muscles, okay, so muscle becomes insulin resistant. Okay, you might be like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, everyone's talking about, and Jason Fung, John Lemonsky, all these great doctors are talking about fasting as a means to reverse insulin sensitivity. And absolutely it does. But short-term fasting, for a temporary period of time, your muscles become more insulin resistant. You might be like, Mike, give me a break. But human studies show this, guys. So in the post-fast window, you might be a little bit more insulin resistant. So that means when you break your fast, you don't want carbohydrates because you are insulin resistant. This insulin resistance is transient. This isn't lasting. This doesn't mean you're getting diabetes. What the body is trying to do is say, okay, well, hey, muscle tissue, since you can utilize free fatty acids, remember back here, the adipocytes are releasing free fatty acids. The muscles can use the free fatty acids. And so they're saying, hey, muscle tissue, since you can use free fats, but the red blood cells, other tissues like the retina of the eye, they need the glucose. So what we're going to do is, the body's so amazing. So the body says, you know what, muscle, we're going to make you a little bit insulin resistant because we know that you can oxidize fatty acids for fuel, right? And so so instead of giving the muscles the small amount of glucose that is coming from glycerol, alanine, glutamine, and other gluconeogenic substrates, the muscle is then dependent upon free fatty acids. So this is why in the post-fast period, your glucose might rise. And a lot of you that are new to this are going to freak out and be like, crap, maybe fasting is making me diabetic. Maybe it's making things worse. Look, guys, it's normal. And here is another reason why this may happen, and I don't have any human published studies to draw on. This is totally Mike Mutzel kind of inferring and triangulating from research that I've read, okay? And it has to do with something that I mentioned earlier, the MCTs. These are not medium chain triglycerides. These are the monocarboxylate transporters, okay? These are the transport proteins that get lactic acid in and out of cells and also get, guess what? Beta hydroxybutyrate and ketones in and out of cells and across the blood-brain barrier. So you're brand new to fasting. You're coming from a standard American diet. You're eating every 2 to 3 hours. You're eating processed food. You're not exercising. You start intermittent fasting. your monocarboxylate transporters are not yet upregulated for that other half of the ketone utilization. Again, we focus so much on ketone synthesis. How high are my ketones? Am I in ketosis? All this stuff. But what you need to focus on, and I stress this a lot in our paid courses, the Keto Lean Masterclass, Higher Standard Keto, is ketolysis, ketolysis, the utilization of ketones. It's great if you can make them, absolutely, no doubt about it, but you need to be able to use them. And in order to use ketones when you're intermittent fasting, when you're on a ketogenic diet, when you're exercising, all these different things, time-restricted feeding, you need the monocarboxylate transporters. And there might be some genetic variability here. There might be a lag time, right, where the monocarboxylate transporters in different tissues within the body are upregulating or downregulating and things like that. So you need to understand that this stuff takes time, right? And so if you start fasting, your glucose is increasing like after 24, 36 hours, and you're like, crap, and you're not eating any food, okay? And you're freaking out, like, what the heck is going on? It could be also that your brain is not getting enough ketones because you don't yet have enough of the transport proteins to get ketones into the cells, okay? So your brain is even increasing more gluconeogenesis to raise glucose, because again, the brain needs the glucose, okay? And there's obligate glucose utilizers and cells within the brain that need glucose, okay? Does that make sense? I'm gonna check my phone here in a minute. Hit that like button if you like this content. I wanna make sure that the audio is good. I wanna make sure that you guys are kind of digging this and address any questions before we move on. Because we're gonna get into autophagy in just a moment, a really fun aspect of autophagy. But I'm going to look at my phone. Wow, 287 people on. Dude, you guys are so cool. What a great time to be with you on a Sunday of all times. And let me just, as a small side note, we're gonna get back to the whiteboard and everything along those lines. And if the reason why I'm talking so fast and I'm so fired up is because my internet and the software that like enables me to stream from my camera, from my computer, was not working. And I got so bummed and I was pissed and I was running around. So my adrenaline is really fired up right now because I thought that I was not gonna be able to do this for you guys and I was gonna disappoint you and I was freaking out. So that's why I started this like really hot. So I apologize for that. I love connecting with you. I love that you're here. Someone said zoom out, zoom out. All right. But then Mike says, don't zoom out. All right. You know what? I'm on a fixed lens here. So the only thing I can do is like move the camera around, and I'm afraid if I move it, I'm already gonna mess up this finicky little black magic converter thing. So guys, I can't zoom out, but thanks for that feedback. And I promise you on the next live, I will absolutely zoom out. So this is what we're gonna talk about next. We're gonna talk about autophagy, okay? Because man, there's been so much research on autophagy. And you know, I gotta be honest, I had my head all focused on the microbiome since 2009. Like that was all the research that I was doing. Gut hormones, glucagon, metabolic endotoxemia, immunometabolism. And I'm so embarrassed, to be totally real with you, that I overlooked the autophagy research because it's been emerging since like the late 90s, early 2000s. The mechanisms, the inhibitors, the activators, all this stuff. And I'm just like so embarrassed that I'm a little late to this party. And so folks like Sim Land, Sim, if he's here, he has a new book. I haven't read it yet, but it's called Metabolic Autophagy, guys. I caught up with him in Long Beach. Great guy. He's got some awesome research that he's going to unveil in that book. And I think it comes out in the next few weeks. So I'll put a link in the show notes. So if any of you are listening right now in the comment bar and you can link Sim's YouTube channel, please do that, because he's been talking about autophagy way longer than I have. But I've been doing a lot of research in the primary literature, and what I want to share with you right now, something that may help you, because a lot of people ask this question. I get this question so much. What will break a fast? And really, what they mean by that is what is going to inhibit or diminish some of the potential health benefits that I might get from a fast. You know, if I eat stevia, if I have stevia in my coffee, will that kind of inhibit some of the benefits that I should be getting from my fast? Or what about MCTs? What about all these things? So instead of like say yes, no, this to that, what I want to do right now is just share with you the major inhibitors and activators of autophagy so that you can think through this, so that you don't need to comment all over YouTube and on Instagram and DM people and say, hey Mike, will this do this? Or hey Sim, will this do this? Or hey Dr. Ken Berry, will this inhibit the fast? I want you to be able to think through this, that you don't have to ask these questions. You can just go, oh yeah, that spikes insulin or that doesn't, okay? So, as you know, there's many different forms of autophagy. We have mitophagy, we have glucophagy, whereas glucose is being, broken down and things like that. Lipophagy, where lipids are being broken down. We have xenophagy, where literally our microbes, pathogens are engulfed. So there's many different types of autophagy, but really what most people are concerned about is just helping this cellular regeneration. And so what we need to this is just big picture, okay, macroautophagy, what we're talking about here. So the main activator and inhibitor, let's talk about the main inhibitor of autophagy is mTOR. Okay, and you're like, whoa, hey, wait, Mike, don't we want mTOR to be activated for muscle protein synthesis? Yes, guys. So we need to always keep in consideration context. Context. It really matters, friends. So it's not that mTOR is always good or bad, it's context dependent. Okay, when you're doing a when you're doing a 24 to 36 hour fast every week, like Metabolic Monday, links are right below here. I would love to have you as part of that in our private Facebook group, where we're doing a group fast every single Monday for the rest of 2019. Of course, you don't have to do it every week if you don't want, but the benefits come with consistency, okay? So we need mTOR to be decreased, okay? I'm just gonna put ATG, okay? So there's about 18 different autophagy genes within our body that are activated and so forth, and there's different co-activators and all this sort of stuff. So I'll just draw like a big bubble here for autophagy. And then over here, what I'm gonna do is AMPK, and then we have CERT, okay, we have this FOXO, okay? So these are all kind of the activators, right, of autophagy. So let's walk through this so that you don't have to like DM everyone, hey, well coffee, what if I put this in my coffee? What about Splenda? What about xylitol? What about allulose? Okay, check this out. Anything that really stimulates, and over here, guys, is insulin. Can you see this? Yeah, you can see this. Insulin. Okay, so there's a reciprocal kind of regulation between autophagy signaling let me back up. There is a relationship here between insulin and mTOR, PI3K, and it gets complicated in the intracellular metabolism of insulin and mTOR. But suffice it to say, let's just clump these together for simplicity in this learning lesson here. Both insulin activation and mTOR activation is going to inhibit autophagy. On this side, anytime we kind of stimulate AMPK, sirtuins, FOXO, and so forth, that's going to upregulate autophagy, right? Okay, so let's talk about context and applications. What's going to activate insulin over here? What's going to activate this, right? Or inhibit this and vice versa. So the first question that I get asked so much too is, hey Mike, should I take branched chain amino acids during my fast? Now, full disclosure, I have a supplement company, Myoscience Nutrition. We sell branched chain amino acids. I don't advise that you take my branched chain amino acids or any branched chain amino acids during a fast if you're trying to enhance autophagy. Why? Because we're gonna get some activation on this side. Remember, mTOR, insulin, any pro-growth signaling is going to inhibit autophagy. So if you're fasting as a means to enhance regeneration, cellular renewal, to decrease inflammation, to kind of clear house, you don't need branched chain amino acids. What you actually want to clear some of those damaged proteins, right? So again, I love branched chain amino acids. We sell them at myoscience.com. I recommend them to a lot of people, particularly in the post-workout window, because branched chain amino acids, I know that the data is kind of conflicting in people's minds. Studies are coming out that when people in the post-workout window, when they utilize branched chain amino acids, guess what? They decrease delayed onset muscle soreness known as DOMS. So basically it enables you to push your body a little bit harder and recover faster for the next workout. So they certainly do enhance muscle protein synthesis and recovery, but if you're fasting for health, you don't need them. Have them in the post-workout window, okay? Okay, what about the other question that comes up? Hey Mike, I wanna have a cream in my coffee. Will that break the fast? Let's think through this. So dairy stimulates insulin. Okay, look, I love cheese, I love dairy. It's been known for a very long time that dairy is low glycemic, but paradoxically insulinogenic, meaning it doesn't affect your blood sugar levels, but it increases insulin, okay? So dairy and cream of that sort if you're fasting for autophagy, it's gonna be detrimental. It's not gonna be something that's gonna help you enhance autophagy and longevity. So dairy is out. Should I write these down? Let's write them down. All right, so again, BCAAs, we got dairy, okay? And look, guys, I love butter, I love dairy, I love amino acids. But again, when we're talking about fasting for longevity, we need to think about these things, and that's why a strict Redmond real salt water fast is what you want if longevity is your goal, okay? What else comes up? People say, oh, hey, Mike, I want to put stevia in my coffee. What about, Mike, if I have black coffee with just a little bit of stevia, will that break my fast? Let's think this through. Okay, so what is stevia? Stevia is a non-nutritive sweetener. So it's still sweet, but it doesn't yield any sugar. Okay, let's think about this. So where is sweet and where does digestion and the whole insulin response starts in the brain, guys. Okay, so just because something is sweet but it doesn't have sugar doesn't mean it doesn't affect insulin. It still does. Studies are actually coming out showing this, that if we just put some sweet stuff on our tongue, and look, I love Lohan, I love xylitol, I love all that crap, right? But again, anything sweet could potentially spike glucose and trigger the anticipation of insulin. And so insulin has different phases of release. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. So that phase 1 insulin release potentially, we don't have real-time insulin monitors at this point, unfortunately, in 2019. Hopefully we will soon. So we haven't yet tested this in humans, but there probably is a minimal, but it could be there, depending on how much stevia or synthetic sweetener someone is consuming, a release in insulin, okay? So again, if you're fasting for longevity, for health promotion, oh, my computer just said the stream was bad, sorry. Hopefully it's okay, I'll just quickly recap that. If you're fasting for longevity, for autophagy, for cellular regeneration, stevia, xylitol, the non-nutritive sweeteners, they're done, okay? It doesn't mean you cut them cold turkey the first time you do this. It means over time you wean off them, okay? So on your first Metabolic Monday, you might say, you know what? I normally do 2 packs of stevia. I'm going to do 1 this week. Next week, I'll do 0, okay? Keep that in mind. So those are most of the questions that come up. Oh, the bone broth. People say, bone broth. Mike, what about bone broth, okay? So here's the things. Look, one of my very first videos on this channel was how to make bone broth. Obviously, you guys know how to make bone broth now, and you can buy it at the grocery store, but this was like a unique bone broth with pig's feet and fish heads and all this crazy stuff. If you go back to our uploads and hit like sort by date, you'll see that video. It's really funny. But anyway, so bone broth. A lot of people want bone broth, but bone broth does have collagen, it has electrolytes, it has glycosaminoglycans. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to bone broth, absolutely. However, some of those different amino acids could affect insulin and mTOR, okay? So again, if you're fasting for longevity, you don't want to necessarily have the bone broth. If it's your very first fast and you're coming from the standard American diet and you have insulin resistance issues, there's probably no issue having a little bone broth during your fast. But again, if you're a regular with this, just have Redmond real salt and water, guys. You will survive. The human body is able to go for a long period of time without food and be okay. All right. So those are the things that kind of inhibit autophagy. Let's talk about some of the things that might upregulate autophagy, okay? So here's where caffeine can come in. The other little mediator, can you guys see this? Oh, you can't see it. I'm gonna draw it way up here. PGC1 alpha, okay? So this whole network, this metabolic signaling hub, the PGC1 alpha, the AMPK, there's nitric oxide, there's SIRT1, FOXO, and so forth. When these are stimulated, we get autophagy being upregulated, okay? So what's gonna stimulate that? Glucose restriction. So we need low glucose physiologically, right? Now, keep in mind, this is where things get a little dicey if you're like, wait, Mike, over here you have gluconeogenesis going on, and then you have glucose restriction. So you're like, well, wait, if my fat cells are releasing glycerol and that's being converted in the liver and other tissues into glucose, then is burning fat going to kick me out of autophagy? The answer is no. Because again, the amount of gluconeogenesis coming from glycerol when you're fasting and so forth, glycerol again coming from stored fat, is not going to be supraphysiologic. It's not like having a soda pop, okay? So it's just enough to get the obligate glucose utilizing tissues within the body, the retina, red blood cells, neurons, to give them fuel, okay? So we need low glucose, we need low insulin, and then anything that stimulates, so any like exercise, moving skeletal muscle, and herbs and botanicals. And so again, I know a lot of you do the carnivorous diet. I think that's, if you're having autoimmune disease, gut issues, just you want to hit the reset button, that can be very effective for a lot of people. I'm not against it at all, particularly right now in the winter as we record this, middle of February. There's no blueberries, kale, and all collards, I made a joke on Twitter, growing right now. So we eat mostly meat, eggs, preserved foods, things like that, right? So, but the point that you need to understand is polyphenolic substances, rosemary, ginger, garlic, oregano, turmeric, thyme, all these, berberine, I'm gonna talk about berberine in a minute. All these things stimulate this whole network signaling hub that's gonna enhance autophagy, okay? So that's what I recommend cooking your food in, guys. Okay, so not only when you fast is it good to take these different herbs. Berberine is one of my favorite herbs, and I have some glucose data from using berberine during fasting. It's absolutely amazing. So just small plug, okay, keep in mind I do own the supplement company, full disclosure, and supplements can't prevent, treat, diagnose, or cure any disease. We're just talking about supporting your body's function. We sell a berberine hydrochloride product, very well priced, it's very effective. So berberine and fish oil can really complement your body when you're fasting. So our Monosorb 1300 paired with berberine, an amazing combination bundle over at myoscience.com. Of course, you can order them anywhere in the world. You don't need to order them anyhow, but if you want to really optimize things, these supplements can help you, okay? So that's why we are offering them, because I've experienced, and many doctors have, just amazing results with these products, right? So herbs, botanicals, cooking with rosemary, garlic, ginger, all these things, Simlan talks about this in his book. We did a YouTube live or a little Instagram live on this. A lot of these polyphenols stimulate this signaling hub that's going to enhance autophagy, okay? So again, I think it's great. If you just want to live on ribeye steaks, okay, fine with me. Add in some garlic, add in some ginger, add in some polyphenols, because that's gonna stimulate these different biochemical pathways. Does that make sense? So that's why I didn't totally jump on board with the whole carnivorous movement, because I'm like, look, all these botanicals, these polyphenols, I don't care about antioxidants. I care about the network signaling hubs metabolically that they upregulate. And so that's what's really exciting about some of the things, especially, again, berberine, curcumin, resveratrol, garlic, ellagic acid, EGCG from green tea, probably caffeine and green coffee bean, things along those lines. But also, again, exercise. And this is another big thing that I can't emphasize enough. When you're fasting, before you fast, you can deplete glycogen, move your muscles, because AMPK and PGC1 alpha, they're upregulated with exercise. And one of the few human, I'll just stop here and then we'll do some questions here in just a second. One of the few human clinical studies associated with autophagy showed that in women, when they exercise, autophagy was upregulated. I should say the autophagy genes were increased 3x, 3 times, okay? Can you guys see that? So exercise upregulates autophagy dramatically, friends. So I love fasting. I think it can be very beneficial for a lot of people, especially if you do it consistently. But exercise needs to be part of your lifestyle, guys. So keep that in mind. Hopefully, this wasn't too crazy. Hopefully you grasped some tips here. I know next time I'm going to zoom out and all that sort of good stuff. But what I'm going to do for our Patreon members, our insiders, if you go to highintensityhealth.com/insider, is what I'm going to do is give you some of the studies that this is leaning on and so forth in a transcript of this video. If that's of interest to you, it's $5 a month. You can join us and then leave if you like it or don't like it, whatever. But so that you can kind of better understand some of this stuff. But again, hopefully after watching this, I hope that now you can kind of think through the coffee, the stevia, the bone broth, the this, that. Will it take you out of a fast or not? And then again, just to kind of summarize, if I didn't emphasize this enough, that in the post-fast period, let's just say you do a 24-hour fast, or you're doing 1 meal a day, or you do a 36-hour fast, you might be a little bit more insulin resistant. Just transiently. This isn't permanent. This is transiently, again, because the body's trying to free up glucose for the obligate, I have a hard time with that, obligate glucose requiring neurons, the retina, red blood cells, okay? So that's what's going on, guys. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you. We're gonna do a whole video on the monocarboxylate transport proteins. These are really important, and I think there's a lag, and there's a lag in the utilization and the penetration across the blood-brain barrier of ketones. So keep that stuff in mind. Again, this can take a little bit of time to adapt, right? You're literally switching fuel substrates dramatically. So let's just get to a few questions. And oh my gosh, I am so grateful that you all are here. Thanks for being here, guys. Please hit that like button. If you like these style of videos, I love making them. So hit that like button, and I promise you we'll do more of these, because I think instead of just me talking into the camera, having a little whiteboard, having a little interaction is a little bit better. Wow, there's so many questions here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to all of these questions right now, guys, but I'm super excited, super grateful that you were here. And as we kind of part ways, if at any point you like this video and you have a friend, you have a relative, someone that you work with that may benefit from knowing this stuff, just share this with them. Just send them a text, say, dude, you gotta watch this, because I want to help people better understand this stuff so that they can make better congruent lifestyle choices. And I'll just say, because I'm meeting some friends for dinner. They might even be watching. Jeff and Donnie, I'm so sorry that I'm 8 minutes late, but I'm leaving very shortly. I wanted to say that part of these videos, since starting Myoscience, Myoscience is able, we're able to do more content like this because you guys are supporting us, and so more free content like this is coming. But we'd be grateful if you do use fish oil, if you use melatonin, if you use probiotics. We have some awesome formulas that I've condensed. After 13 years of being in the supplement business, I figured out what works, what doesn't, and that's what we're offering over at myoscience.com. So as like a special for you, you can use the promo code HIH and save 20% off. Again, that URL is myoscience.com. That's MYOXCIENCE.com. Use the promo code HIH. That will give you free shipping, 20% off. We have a ton of really cool stuff. And these are things that, again, after 13 years of being in the business, that I saw doctors get great results with, I saw patients get good feedback with, and I'm offering to you, so that you don't have to do any guesswork and go and try and figure out, should I take this or take that? I'm just telling you, after traveling all around North America for the past 13 years, I've pinpointed like about 20 products that are very effective. Of course, you don't need all 20, but there's a few in there that are very effective. So super excited that you're all here. And for our patrons, I'm gonna make a transcript of this, give you the show notes. And if you have not yet joined Metabolic Monday, it's totally free. Go over to the Facebook group. There's a link right below this, guys. I would love for you to be there. We have, I think, over 600 people already in the Facebook group, and they're fired up. Like, so many people are so much more consistent now, getting good results, getting feedback, balancing their blood sugar. But again, some of these questions did come up about, hey, my glucose is rising, so what do I do? And so I just wanted to break it down, totally natural, totally normal. Again, glucose is coming mostly when you're intermittent fasting for more than 24 hours. The glucose is mostly coming from the breakdown of body fat. And one small plug for caffeine. So here's why I love caffeine when you're trying to burn fat. Caffeine upregulates lipolysis of fat cells, right? So it helps your fat cells kind of split apart molecules. And so that glycerol is doing something. It's going to make glucose for those obligate neuronal cells, red blood cells that need glucose. So that's it, guys and gals. Super excited. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have an awesome week. Hopefully, and if you do Metabolic Monday on Instagram or whatever, use the hashtag Metabolic Monday. I look for that, and I like to connect with you. That's about it. So have a good week. I'm going to get back to your questions here, but I have to meet some of my good friends, and I'm already late, and they're going to be upset with me, so I really apologize. But I really am grateful that you're all here. Have an awesome week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.